you could not live with your own failure. Where did that bring you? Back to me.
Hello, world, and welcome to the Pardon the Politics podcast, Season 1, Episode 9. I am your co-host, Jeezy, with my partner in politics, Manny. What's good, Manny?
Man, we still here. We still here.
We are still
a wild week
here, and it has definitely been a wild week. But before we jump into it, we just want to say a huge thanks to the pod community. As you guys know, we had our live event that was streamed on election night through Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch, and you guys showed us a tremendous amount of love.
So much love.
I mean, we cannot thank you guys enough. It went amazing. We had some great feedback. We had some guests on, some members of the pod, some people that we know that are near and dear to us, and it really turned into a very nice event. So thank you guys for watching, for tuning in. It was greatly appreciated, and we're back here dropping another episode, man. So
yeah. The amount of love you guys show us will never go unfelt, y'all.
Exactly.
The fact that there are people here nationally and internationally that care what the boys think about things.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. We appreciate it, and we'll be setting up our next one here in a little bit. You know, more details will be forthcoming on that. But guys, once again, thank you so much.
Yeah, man, we enjoyed it, and just as much fun as you guys had, we had fun putting it on. So thank you guys. So, you know,
what happened this week? Anything happened this week?
What didn't happen, man? Oh my God! So election night came, and election night threw us a little bit of a loop, man. You guys know we posted our maps on our social media of what the pod thought that was going to take place, and we were wrong.
Absolutely none of that happened. Absolutely none of that. Like, man, we were wrong.
we were dead wrong. Like, dead wrong. So, you know, in this episode, we want to just break down our thoughts of election night, and I will say, it was definitely a shocker. But as I processed it, I just off of default, I went ahead and took the next day off from work just so I would have that moment, bro, to process either way of how it went. And man, that day after, man, as I processed it, I sent Manny a message in the chat, and one of the things that stuck out to me was like, I should have known this was coming. And I said that because I remember election day, I was sitting in my office at work, and I tuned in to when Trump went to go cast his vote, and you know, I pay attention to the vibes, the energy of a person. And he kind of just gave off like,
he had a swag, man.
Yeah, he had
confidence.
He had the cap on. He had no tie on. Had the collar open. When a man got a blazer on with the collar open,
bro,
there's a level of confidence. There's a level of confidence. So, you know, he had that on. Then I turned over and I seen JD Vance casting his vote. Got the same type of little swagger as Trump got. And then, you know, Kamala, she mailed hers in, but what struck me was that I heard that she was making calls,
working
the morning of the election. Like, she's calling into radio stations and she's calling into this and that and in battleground states. And I sat back in my chair in my office and I'm like, why is she working so hard the day of the election? Like, there should be no work going on. And you've done all you can, essentially, in my opinion. But she's like talking in the news radio stations. And I'm like, I had a 5-second thought where I was like, she ain't gonna win. and I remember telling Manny, and like I said, and we shared on the podcast how we are members of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. I was a step master, and I remember in the way that I carried our preparation for step shows, we not doing nothing the day of the show.
We chilling, you getting properly hydrated, stretched out. Can't catch a cramp in the middle of the show,
bruh. Right. So you kind of really, that day is just a mental day. Even for those of you that are athletes that have played sports, the day of, you ain't doing no hard work. You may be at the hotel and you might walk through a play, or you may do some hydrating or some stretching, but you're certainly not doing any hard work. When I see a person doing hard work the day of, that tells me, you don't have this. You don't feel sure. You don't feel confident in yourself. And I had that little 5-second glimpse where I was like, But then I had hope. And hope is a dangerous vehicle. that is, if not driven properly, will
take you right off that cliff.
We'll take you right off the cliff.
That cliff of disappointment and despair. And that's what
that's what happened.
I mean, it was apparent. So election day, I went and voted. I don't early vote. Let's first hit that. I don't early vote for two reasons. One, I like election day voting. That's the day I go vote. You assign me a day, and that's the day I'm going to go out and vote. But also, I'm of strong belief that election day should either be a weekend or a national holiday. So to make sure I keep supporting that, I go out and vote on election day. And I went to my precinct. I was number 286, and that was around 11 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's super low. That's super, super low. A good portion of the precinct that I was at, that I vote at, had already done early voting when I was calling around. The original plan that I had for election day was to go around, talk to different people at precincts and whatnot, and places were dry. There was nobody in certain places here in North Carolina. And I think that just shows the drive to early voting, mail-in balloting, and what happened there. So I was like, this is odd. Called one of my good friends out in Raleigh. I was like, hey, what are you seeing at your precinct? And the precinct he was at, he was like, 67% of the precinct voted early. And he's like, that's a ridiculous number. I was just like, oh, so pretty much everybody. And I was like, okay, whatever, people just voted early. Just they didn't want to wait for the lines. They knew, which we had talked about here on the pod, that everyone kind of knew what they were already going to do. Right. So like, why belabor the point? Let me just go ahead and head in, cast this ballot, and be on my way. But yeah, you know what? When G's dropped that message in the chat, I was like, yeah, that's a little bit weird, but maybe, and it wasn't. It didn't initially cast me as like really odd, because I'm like, oh yeah, early in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning shows, okay, that makes sense. When I heard that she was still doing it like 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon, there's video of her on CNN at a call center like talking to people. I was like, ooh, girl, you. Part of my brain was like, yeah, you're really going after it, But here's the moment, and it's funny because in hindsight, we can look back and we can really start pinpointing things that were like, oh, yeah, we should have known something there. Oh, yeah. The one that jumps out to me was Taylor Swift. And the fact that her being such a vocal supporter, I don't know if we can really say vocal, but she was a supporter of Kamala Harris, posting on social media. For Kamala to be out doing a rally the day before in any of the state, pick any of the state, because she was dumping that CO2 all in the air on the jet. But for her to not appear at anything and instead go watch, Travis Kelce be okay at football. Normally I would say good, but he's off being okay at football, and you go into that game like that's. I'm like, that's if you really feel like democracy is at stake, as she kind of denoted in her comments, and then just not appear at all. I'm like, something's off here.
That endorsement fell a little flat.
The other Taylor Swift marker, as I will call it, is, geez, you remember, it had to be a couple months ago, she dropped that song where she longed for a time 1800s or something like that, and she longed to be back in that time. at first I heard it, I was like, well, that's real weird. But, because that wasn't the greatest time for women. But, okay, that's what floats your boat, Taylor. That's what floats your boat.
Right.
But then thinking in hindsight now, looking at these results for the number one pop star in the world to drop a line like that, meaning that Taylor, I thought that line to some degree would resonate with her people. I think that was a marker of a group of people saying they want to go back to a previous time. Maybe we should be making America great again and not trying to plot a new way forward.
When you think about it, man, to that point, when you look at the groups of people and how they voted, and you compare that to her base, I think you're right, man.
I mean,
I think you're very right.
And let's also all be honest for a second. We all kind of believed that Kamala was going to win rural Pennsylvania. That, like, let's all just sit with that for a second. Like, rural Pennsylvania, rural Michigan, and rural Wisconsin. Like, we all firmly thought, like, yeah, this is possible. That's possible. But like you said, hope. Driving on hope, bro. On the mountain of despair.
That hope. And I think, man, they did a good job of bottling this hope and selling it to us for $1.
Right.
But once we got home and started drinking on it,
right. It's water.
We got what we paid for.
Right. And we hear it a lot. Yeah, maybe this is the first time we'll say on this. No, it's not the first time we say it. But things that do not vote, that people associate with people voting. Political signs. Yep. Social media likes. Bingo. And TV time.
Yep.
We saw all that and we're like, oh, yeah, she should be. She was not fine. She was
as we said on the previous episode, energy does not vote.
Right. And then also going back to the Saturday Night Live appearance that literally happened while we were recording the pod.
Yeah.
If you look at Vice President Harris' face when Maya Rudolph says, "I'm voting for us," and she's like, "Are you in Pennsylvania?" If you look at her face, she was real serious. Like, dead serious. That came from deep inside. Like, yo, are you in Pennsylvania?
and you know what, man? To that point, because we've discussed too, where Trump was telling us that the numbers that he's seeing, he was up big, and we've heard Trump do that before, and he's been wrong. Yeah, he definitely was not. But what was telling to me is once the results started coming in, I felt like Kamala knew that the numbers were what they were. I think she knew they were in this position because there was no pushback. There was no, hey, can we get a recount in this county? It was like, yep. What we saw is what we saw. We saw. If you see it, if it looked like an L, smell like an L, it feel like an L. It's an L. And that's what she got, man. I think that we are just about. I think everything is done. I think all the states have been projected.
All the states are in, and
Big Donnie got I gotta give him a new nickname, bro. Big Donnie did the sweep. He did 312. I can't even call her Big Mala no more, man. I'm just gonna have to say Miss Mala. The Miss Mala 226. And what's telling about this map is, like Manny's already said, bro, he did a sweep in these battleground states.
That blue wall fell like the walls of Jericho on that seventh day.
Bro, when you look at this map, it's like, yeah, man. And down to even the popular vote, Trump got 50.4 to Mala having 47.9. So that is about a 3.7 million difference, with Trump having 74.5 million votes.
And to do it so definitively, like,
yes.
So if you look at I'm trying. Okay, there it is. I was trying to look for the math that I had. If you look at vote counts in the popular vote, Trump got 300,000 more votes in 2024 than he did in 2020. So good for him. He's consistently raised his numbers. But if you look at Vice President Harris in comparison to the numbers that Biden did, she got 11 million fewer votes than Biden. And like even in like New Jersey, you know, it went blue. Kamala Harris only got 51% of that vote.
Yeah.
And that's rough because I believe in 2020 it was closer to 60. Joe Biden got closer to 60% in that.
Yeah.
So there was clear voter drop off.
Oh, definitely. And I think even it's evident if you look at California. When you look at California and how, you know, it was won in 2020 and you compare the counties to what Harris was able to obtain, it almost could have got sticky. You know, there's she only won it by 2.3 million votes. And you may say, well, that's a lot of votes, but when we're talking about California,
that's a lot of people.
Yeah, there's a lot of people, and that margin should be a lot bigger than what it was, but it wasn't, you know. So there was Trump, man. He really ran the table. And, you know, I wanted to kind of bring up the topic first with Trump of where do we think Trump, or how did Trump nail a victory to this level? I mean, there were some people thinking that it was going to be close, and you heard a lot of major networks, to which a point that you made on the pod, Manny, or maybe in our group chat that we talked about, is that maybe a lot of these people were calling it close because they didn't want to be wrong, you know, with the past couple of years, kind of looking at polls like, and even in this case, you can look at the polls and say they were wrong.
Well, and let's not forget that Iowa poll came out and everyone was bro, she usually ain't wrong. She usually ain't wrong. There might be something here. There was absolutely nothing there.
There was absolutely nothing. I don't know what she was smoking on that night, but it was good and it was strong.
strong.
It is crazy because I remember when she dropped it, Trump was like,
we were like, oh.
Yeah, like, well, wait a minute, we got something. Trump was like, I don't even know why she even dropped that. I see why he said that, because she about to look crazy.
Real crazy.
Even the homie with I can't remember his name, the homie with the toupee that says he's been predicting the election is right. He's only been wrong once. Hold his L, partner. Hold his L. So when we look at the results of what took place on election night, where do you feel, or what do you feel was done by Trump and the Trump campaign to nail a victory of this level, of this magnitude?
What I'm not sold on right now, is whether Donald Trump won or whether Kamala Harris lost. Like that, I think that will kind of become more apparent as more like the finalized data gets out there.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm having a problem reconciling. It's like, I don't know. But part of me really leans to the fact that Donald Trump won. A couple key things that I think really just made the huge difference. If you go look at the county map nationwide, and Trump ran up the numbers everywhere. He virtually did better in every single, not every single, but the majority of counties.
I think when I seen
across the U.S.,
it was like, I can't remember the number, but it might have been like 13% of like
something like that.
Like Harris might have won like 13% of the counties, or like 18% of the counties in the U.S.
CNN did a breakdown, and they showed counties in which Donald Trump did 3% or better. I think the number over 1,050. And then same 3 percentage point, Kamala had 58. That doesn't happen by accident.
Nah, it doesn't.
I think what you saw here was a Trump team running that had taken everything that they learned in 2016 and 2020, went back to the drawing board, and really like, we're going to do this differently. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the big things, a lot of the voter outreach that happened on the Donald Trump team, of course, you had the party apparatus doing stuff, but Charlie Kirk's organization, you saw Elon Musk and his PAC being involved. And while PACs can't coordinate with the campaigns, PACs can coordinate with each other. Yeah. And I thought you saw a coordination of PAC work that had people on the ground, that was extremely data driven. And I think they just turned out the people, and that's even before we start talking about like the issues, and how we really got here. And I think when we'll cover how we really got here in a little bit, but I think he learned. And then at the heart of it, Trump had the most to lose by losing.
Bingo. Yeah.
Like,
I think we said it on a previous episode, like this is life or death for Trump. And I think he treated
and not just politically.
Oh, no, facts. I think you saw a man and identify that I have all my chips in on this, and I have to do everything within my power to wield myself to victory. And I got to give it to Trump. He did it. And I think his team did a heck of a job, because even in some of the pitfalls, you could see, when we talked about in our previous episode about the Madison Square Garden event, you saw his team was bam, they were on it. They were trying to do as much as they possibly can to distance and separate. Like they learned, to your point, man, they learned what to do. And you heard a lot of Democrats say, well, Trump didn't have a ground game or much of all. He didn't have people knocking doors or doing this. And to that point, he didn't need it.
Well, and he was also doing other different things. Like, I know for certain
that proved to be much more effective.
Right. From phone calls that I got invited to an Elon Musk round table. I was invited one at Dana White. Like Trump himself did one where call-in rallies that I think a lot of people just didn't know about. Like we heard about the Zoom rallies for Vice President Harris, but we didn't hear about these. Like you heard them because you were invited to be there. Yeah. And I was like, this is interesting. This is interesting. And to everyone's like, well, E, how did you get invited? Well, remember at the end of the day, I'm still a registered Republican. Even as vocally strong as I was in support of Kamala Harris.
You're a Republican?
What? But, during election day, I got bored and I started answering some of these spam calls that I was getting. And that's what these were. They were invites to these virtual. I was like, so I'd been missing these for probably a while at this standpoint. And also, at least in the state of North Carolina, they're dropping election data every day. In terms of who voted, who didn't vote. So exactly. If I know Emmanuel Wilder has not voted yet, so based on this data, I have this phone number for him, so I'm going to call him. They got outdated.
You're gonna harass him.
No, yes. Shout out to Haya, who does not sponsor this pod, but you could for helping filter out a bunch of messages and texts that I didn't want to receive.
Man, so I think, man, there was some work that was done, and I think that can't go unnoticed by what the Trump team was able to accomplish. They really went to work. And to your point, man, a lot of that we didn't hear about, but apparently, obviously, actually, behind the scenes, there was some serious work going on by this team.
What do they say? Work in silence and let the results speak for themselves.
Man, that's facts, man. Big Donnie, he got it done, bro. I think that also too, when you look at what Trump was able to do, when it came to the issues, the Democrats, I feel like
They carry a lot. They carry a lot on this one. Like a lot of why this went wrong was because of the Democratic Party for them.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was almost as if this thing was gift wrapped by the Democrats for the Republicans, because there were so many issues that Trump could hit on that really attacked the Democratic Party, but the Democrats really couldn't answer it. And I think that, even down to the border, there was a hard position that Harris couldn't separate herself on that to a degree that she needed to, I think, to capitalize on those people that saw it as a real issue. Abortion rights, they hit on that. But really, outside of abortion rights and Project 2025, that's all Democrats can talk about. Everything else is really looking in the mirror.
It was, the Democrats very much showed to be a party that was ill prepared for this moment that we know is going to happen every 4 years. Right. Like in the group chat, y'all, I dropped my 10 reasons about how we got here and why Kamala lost. And the number one reason that I have is lack of true leadership in the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Like, because the day after the 2020 election, they should have been looking for a replacement. Like, this is who's going to run. And they didn't. I think the party internally was so sure of themselves that Trump was going to be indicted and put in jail before this election that they're like, we cool. We ain't got to figure this out.
Yeah, we good.
The second reason I have on why this happened is Biden's fault. It's Biden's fault. He came out and ran saying, I'm going to be the bridge person. I'm going to do one term and I'm going to leave. And Democrat leadership, A, ain't hold him to that. And then B, I think, Biden started feeling a little young again. Because even though he's almost as old as Trump.
Yes, he is.
Like, I think he was starting to feel himself. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to go do this again. And
ego, bro. Ego.
Bro. It's hard. It's hard pill to swallow.
He got to feel it himself, man. And that goes to your point about leadership. Because he did state that he was one term and this was going to be it. Then who let him... Who let him off the hook?
It was easy who let him off the hook. The party leadership and the other candidates. It's almost as if nobody started preparing. Anything. And and Kamala doesn't get to escape this without fault. Like at the end of the day, she had 100 days from Biden stepping down till election day to try to pull this together. It was going to be a miracle to make it happen in any degree. But it also didn't help her that the administration didn't look great. And with 100 days, how do you separate yourself from the administration that you're in? And the Trump campaign spent every moment reminding people that, hey, she is part of this current administration. Yeah. And what do you do with that? So, but I also go back and I was sharing with the boys some additional data from back in July that should have also let us know that, hey, this won't going to work out for them like they expected it to. But this poll was done by Rutgers. And it was right at the time Biden had already messed up in the debate, and they were like, well, who's going to replace them? There was only one person that polled better than Trump.
Who was it?
Michelle Obama. And we're going to put a pin in this because I'm going to come right back to this. Kamala was down by 1% to Trump, so doable, down by 1%. Gavin Newsom, he got 39 to Trump's 42. Gretchen Whitmer, 36 to Trump's 41. Andy Beshear, 36 to Trump's 20. J.K. Pricker, 34 to Trump's 40. Like, everyone was down. Michelle Obama had 50% to Trump's 39. And I'm going to say it. This is the other thing that I highlighted for the boys. This election losing was Obama's fault. And here is why it's Obama's fault. It was Obama's fault because he made that stuff look so dang easy. He said it when Hillary won. He said she didn't work as hard as me. Obama did his election, did his campaigns, and did his presidency with such a swag that people just thought it was easy. Like anyone can do. Oh, everyone can do that.
They believe that Obama created this manuscript that if you follow what I do, you'll get the seat. Not realizing the issue is, the caveat is, who's in the seat.
Right. Well, Obama was a duck. You know, if you see a duck on top of the water, calm, cool, collected, but underwater paddling for his life.
Yep.
And I think Dems expected this to come easy for them. And no, you got to work for this.
You got to put in work, man.
And you saw that with Hillary, didn't work. Obama said it himself. She didn't work as hard as he did, and she lost. And I think this is not about, Kamala not working as hard, because dang it if she did not work super hard. But the party has been chilling since Obama. Like there's no reason, if we're also being honest, there's no reason Hillary Clinton should have been the one who ran in 2016. Mm-hmm. They should have found somebody else. Obama showed in 2008 and 2012 that the party was ready for different leadership. Hillary was not that.
Yeah, she wasn't. That's not the difference that we were looking for.
No, it was not. We wanted hope and change, not more of the same.
Not more of the same, bro. We've been there before, and back to the point that you were making, man. That with Harris, she was giving a very tall task, and the blame, certainly, I think you can look at Biden and say, man, you knew you weren't in a position for 4 more years. You had to be real with yourself. The Democratic Party should have been, like you said, day one in 2020, looking for a person to run. Harris, if she thought that it was somehow going to be her, she surely could have made some preparations within herself to be more forthcoming. I mean, there's a period of time, bro, we didn't even know where Harris was at. We didn't even see you. Right. And then it's like, oh yeah, Biden drops out. Hey, y'all remember Harris, my VP? Here she is. Like, no, bro, don't bring her out on stage left and say, hey, okay, now here she is. We hadn't seen her. So then now she
didn't establish herself.
And Manny, that to the change and the difference of the candidate, you have a black woman, you have a woman of Asian descent. That is a change. That's not something that you just plop in our laps and say, deal with it.
The country had 2 years to adjust to Obama.
Yep.
Most campaigns, absent of Obama, let's take Obama out of it. Yep. Most candidates don't run for president in 100 days. Most of them have this. Okay, you've gone through a whole entire primary cycle, and now you've gone through a campaign cycle. So you've heard you've heard about this candidate for at least the last year and a half. She didn't have all that, and we called it out on the last pod that she is just now finding her footing with her message and everything. But you doing that days before an election?
It's too late, homegirl. Right. It's too late, and that's where I feel like Biden really fumbled and dropped the ball. We joked about it and said, if this is pulled off, this will be, one of the greatest political alley-oops that we've ever seen. But on the flip side of that, we see that this might have been one of the greatest political fumbles.
That Carlton Banks, give me the ball. Let me launch up because that's what it was. It wasn't even a brick. It was an air ball. It was air lost ball. All the Dems lost everything.
What did Willie Walker say then? You get nothing, so you lose. Good day.
Good day.
You have your hat and your coat and leave. And I think she knows it, man, because I look at how people move, and she came out, she gave her a well-crafted speech where she conceded at Howard University, walking off one last time to freedom. But then shortly, I think it was within 48 hours, her niece Mina posts on Instagram. She's chilling with her nieces with a glass of wine. Like, bro, she like, you know what? y'all gave me a mess. Albeit a mess I created. I did the best I could do. Hey, over 70, almost 75 million people said this is what they wanted. So, hey, I'm gonna give them that.
And let's remember, elections are also about coalition building. And this is where I also think there were some things done on both sides that really helped make this election. If you look at the Democratic Party over the last, I would say 15, 20 years, their voter coalition has always been, up until probably like the last maybe 4 to 8 years, I'll give you, in some stretches 12. Their voter coalition has been a whole bunch of one-issue voters. If you really cared about women's rights, cool. You care about raising the tax on the rich, cool. Y'all can stand over there. If y'all care about LGBTQ rights, y'all are over there. If y'all care about union workers, cool. Y'all are right there. And they built this giant coalition of people that ignored everything else except their one main issue.
Yep.
Where on the other side, you got the whole rhino thing. If you're not a Republican, there's 10 things that make you a Republican. You believe 9 out of 10. You're not a Republican, man. You're a rhino, man. Just Republican in name only. You get over there. What we saw in this election is Trump really just ripped that apart, where he built a voter coalition. Oh, you care about the borders? Cool. You come over here. I'm your candidate. You care about inflation? Cool. I'm your candidate. You care about women and men's sports? Cool. And he built that coalition where, if you look on the flip side, with a Democratic Party that's been pulled further and further and further to the left, now adopting that same Republican-esque previous view that, like, hey, if you're not down for women's rights, LGBTQ rights, where it became a checklist, and those flipped.
Yep.
And we saw some. And then also I also think Democrats failed to pay attention to why people were leaving the party. My own personal belief, I've run no data on this. This is my own personal belief from people I've talked to. People have left the Republican Party in the era of Trump because of Trump and because of his fans that come along with him. Personality. Part of the reason where I'm not as involved with the party as much is because of the people that Trump's policy. I don't like his policies at all. Trump, people have said it. Trump is not a Republican. He's very much just using the name and the vehicle. But people were leaving because of Trump, not necessarily policy. On the Democratic side, you had people leaving because of policy. And someone did a breakdown of like the exit polling numbers. We saw a switch where Democrats had been the party of people who made under like 100,000, the working class people, the middle class, and minority groups, where Republicans were viewed as the party for the rich elites. That is now flip-flopped. And the data shows that, where now the Republican Party is viewed as the party for working class, middle class individuals. And the Democrats are viewed as the party for those making over 100,000 and African Americans.
And I think that goes to your point, Manny, and confirmation, because I think this past week, we saw Bernie Sanders say that his critique or his criticism of the Democratic Party was that they have neglected the middle class people. The people they're appealing to now aren't the middle class. And I thought about it when I seen his comments. I was like, wait a minute. I don't think I ever saw Bernie even endorse Kamala in this election.
Mad quiet.
He was very, and we've seen that he's, even though Bernie is correct me if I'm wrong, he's independent.
Independent, or whatever that means for Bernie.
Whatever that means for him, right?
When I'm not running for president, I'm an independent. But now.
But I thought about it and I'm like, he's normally very vocal. Man's been quiet. And then after we seen the whooping that Trump was able to put on, he comes out, he's very critical of the Democratic Party. And when he made that comment, I was like, he's got a point here, man. Yeah. He's got a serious point here. And, to your point, that $100,000 salary. That's not your middle class.
Not at all. Not at all.
Then, when you speak of these issues, and if I'm sitting here being, I'm gonna say a $50,000 salary type guy, and I'm looking at both of these parties, which one do I feel like really appeals to me? And it's been built that Trump's been able to rally those people to feel that, hey, I'm your candidate, I'm your guy, we're your destination as far as where you reside politically, and that is evident in what we saw in this election.
And what's next? Who knows what's next?
Man, listen.
That was a hell of a sweep by Trump for that, picking up the Senate, even though that was projected at this point. As of the recording of this, we still don't know what's going to happen with the House. But here's what I would say: if you listen, we had one of my good friends, Antoine Marshall, who will definitely be making some appearances as the pod on the pod. Brother Marshall. Man, he made a comment in 2016, and I think it still holds true here, that we don't always get the leadership we want, but we always get the leadership we deserve.
Facts. Now, with that statement you're making, Manny, I want to bring a tweet that we discussed when it comes to the leadership we deserve. I was sharing with Manny that there was a post that was made by Big Donnie, and Donald said this, and I'll read the tweet that was put on Truth Social. It said that I'm very surprised that the Democrats who fought a hard and valiant fight in the 2020 presidential election, raising a record amount of money, didn't have lots of money left over. Now they are being squeezed by vendors and others. Whatever we can do, and listen to me, y'all, whatever we can do to help them during this difficult time, I would strongly recommend we, as a party and for the sake of desperately needed unity, do. We have a lot of money left over, and that our biggest asset in the campaign was earned media, and that doesn't cost very much. Make America great again. I was taken aback.
I really can't tell if he's trolling or he's being serious. That's when I read that tweet, I'm like, okay, because we all know, and y'all know here at the pod, that regardless of how you feel about Donald Trump, we here hold him at a very high level as being one of the masterful trollers in the political history. But when I read that, and I was like, is he trolling or is he being for real? And if he's being for real, who is this man? Who is this president that we're going to get? Man, it runs consistently. We usually hear this about every president in there who gets 8 years in that second term, where that's your legacy. Like everyone's like, oh, let's talk about, he has this, he can do this, 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 and this. Absent all that, this is what I'm talking about. Them as a person. They don't have any voters that they have to really listen to anymore.
Yep.
Like there's no future election for them. So that second cycle is really an opportunity, is their legacy. Like you don't have anyone policing you. So what you going to do? I feel as though Trump, as hard as he goes, I think he really does care what people think about him.
Oh, bro, definitely.
Big Donnie somewhere has a real soft man. Because remember, pre 2015 and him running, the black community, we rocked with Trump. We rocked. So now now I think he's in a situation where he's like, this is really about what I'm leaving behind. So I see this tweet and I'm just like, I can't tell if he's trolling or he's like, look, I'm gonna try to do this, because again, I don't believe that at his core belief structure he is a Republican. Like I don't know if he's a Democrat, but I know he's not a Republican. Like the biggest thing he talks about is tariffs and whatnot, and where I'm very much pro free trade because I believe it helps everybody out and it helps us. It helps us, especially with how we spend and how our money is incorporated across the world. It is advantageous for us to continue with free trade. So I don't know. Like this is a coin flip. This is a coin flip.
And I when I read it, I'm like, to your point, Trump is. You could tell that he's a person that cares about what people think, because people that say the opposite of positive things about him, you could tell it strikes a chord with him, right? Mm-hmm. Like it really bothers him. Him. As a grown man, it should not bother you that much unless you really deeply, truly care what people say about you.
And he's been shot at. Like I would assume that having a assassination attempt come within, if we're being honest, multiple inches of you dying. Like I feel like that should change at least how you go on about life.
Yeah.
And here's the big question around this is, who are Trump supporters? Mm-hmm. And when I say who are Trump supporters, I'm really talking from the standpoint of, are they people that just will follow and do anything that Trump says? Or do they have core principles and beliefs, and that's why they supported them? Because if they really just are they going to believe everything and do everything he says? Well, if they are that, and he does go down this unity path, this 4 years may not be as bad as as a lot of people are anticipating.
But as a MAGA supporter, bro, I just thought about that. I'm like, if Trump go out here now, he spewed that they gotta be unified with everybody and spread unity, and that's what our message is gonna be.
That's not them.
Some of them might explode, bro.
Right. We saw immediately after the election, I believe the FBI and local authorities are investigating African American and Hispanic students on campuses that were getting text messages either saying, hey, we're going to deport, report for being deported, or report to your nearest cotton field to start picking cotton.
Yeah.
Like,
we have to understand that when it comes to MAGA supporters, not all of them, I'm not going to say all of them, but we know that there is a level of divisiveness and I call it what it is, just racism that comes.
I was going to say, you're about to be real clean with that. I was like, no, it's my job to be clean about it. No, there are some true racists that Donald Trump makes feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
And those people that feel empowered, and we talked about that, these people that have been, whether it has been blatant racist individuals or people that were closet racist, he brought those people out to feel like they had a voice. Now that they feel like they have a voice, and you turn around and now you want to unify the nation, that's kind of weird. You know what I mean? That's kind of a weird position to be in as one of those MAGA supporters. And I'm interested in see how does he walk this path? Because again, we're talking about legacy. Mm-hmm. There's 75 million people that voted for him, but there's also 70 million that didn't.
That did not.
If you get in a conversation of legacy, you got to do something about those 70 million.
Right.
Now, you might not get all of them, but you need something that at the end of the day, when these 4 years are up and the dust is settled and you're done, and your life will be whatever it is, and there'll be books and things written about you. Will they hold you to the flame of what mistakes you made in that first term that you had?
Right.
Or will it be, hey, this guy didn't know what he was doing, kind of came in, made a mess, made some mistakes, but it was given another chance, and he did something that we could say really took the direction of this country into a place that it was better than rather than worse.
Right. And I think I don't know. I don't think anyone knows.
We really don't.
If you watch some of the movements that have been happening since that, not externally, so all non-US, at the EU come and immediately say, hey, we sure do like your natural gas, so how about we start importing that here? You had Hamas come out and say, hey, we want peace. We want peace. Like, you see Russia, who's come out and said, hey, you remember what we said about trading gas and oil in a different currency? Nah, we're gonna stick with the dollar. Like, this is real wild. Like, I don't know, and that's why this is going to be extremely interesting over the next 4 years.
It will, and I think also, when you talk about legacy and be it domestic and abroad as well, he still has to navigate through his legal issues as well too. So that almost speaks to having to kind of go double time to say, okay, even if this thing falls in a way that may be damaging to my legacy, I have buffered enough of my legacy within the country that they can say, okay, yeah, he was a convicted felon that that ended up getting X, Y, and Z, but when he left, job growth was this, the nation was this, energy was this, worldwide and abroad this. That was, he's able to, and I think that's what he's focused on, man. At least that's what I hope he's
focused on.
Yeah, because he has a lot of work to do in the legacy department.
It's lots. And it'll be interesting. I think the one thing, not the one thing, there's so many things. I'm going to stop saying one thing on this podcast because there's always more than one thing that we're looking and paying attention to. But if you go back, we can always look back historically and see the signs. Well, one of the questions I asked myself is, why did Trump lose in 2020? And when I went back and looked at it, there were two real issues that sunk his boat. Well, three, but I put an asterisk on that three. The first one, COVID. People did not like how COVID was handled under Trump in that first year.
Yeah.
I think he made big mistakes there. And I think that was a big driver to why he lost. Additionally, the other thing that was really big during that time was the racial and civil unrest. We didn't really have that this go around. I'm sorry, let me not say we didn't have that this go around. It was not done at a national level like we had seen it during the 2020 cycle. You know, we weren't seeing the protests, and there were no high profile murders that had occurred. So, and then the third one that I have listed out there with an asterisk is jobs. Like the economy was going weird ways because, we just flushed all that money into the economy. People were trying to get jobs back. Those were issues at this standpoint. So it's kind of like, all right, so if we didn't have these issues, and then on top of that, Biden was a weak candidate. Yeah. Biden was the begruntled selection in 2020, not the overall choice.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be interesting to see kind of how this plays out, though.
Man, I definitely agree, and to that point, Manny, had things been a little bit better in that first term, Biden we'd be coming out of his second term. And I think some of those things he may have learned. And I think going forward, as we see how things take shape, I think we'll see what happens. Do we get some of the same? Do we get different as far as better? Do we get difference as far as worse? We'll see. We'll see how it happens. So that is our thoughts on the election. And this is a topic I'm sure that we will rehash and revisit.
Hey, look, one thing we ask for is content. And I believe with Big Donnie,
we gonna get it.
We're going to get some content. So
we're going to get it. Well, with that being said, that is our election coverage, and we will, as the weeks and months and things play out and start taking shape, there may be some parts and aspects of this that we will have to revisit. That will kind of make everything come full circle. So, with that being said, guys, you know what our next segment is, and that is the pickle of the week.
We got your pickle. We got your pickle. We got your pickle.
So,
man, who's in a pickle? There's so many people who could be in a pickle. Who do we got this week?
As my 4-year-old likes to say, she says, "Who body? Who body is the pickle? Who body is the pickle of the week?" And that is the entire Democratic Party.
Right. They're in the pickle, man. They got to do some soul searching, some finger pointing.
Man, look, I think some real conversations and real leadership and real change needs to happen, and it needs to happen real quick. I hope y'all realize that. Don't try this last minute stuff that y'all did this time, but they are in a pickle certainly because, man, there is no blue wall. You lost every single battleground state. We still are waiting on the results of the House, but you're being outflipped in the House.
Look, currently, Trump said he was going to build a wall, and maybe he wasn't talking about Mexico.
That wall was up north. But the Democratic Party, man, has a serious challenge in a pickle, seriously, that they're in, because they have to, in my opinion, they have to reshape, restructure what this party is going to be. One thing I've always told Manny, and for those of you that don't know, I'm a registered Democrat. And one thing
no. Get me off this show. I didn't sign up for this.
So for those of you that are listening, that is why we are able to give y'all the content that we can, because we come from two different sides of the aisle. And I'm pretty sure that had we not shared that information with you guys, you'd probably be wondering where we fall at, which tells you that we have some integrity here at Partner Politics. We call it straight down the middle, regardless of what side we're on. But I think as a Democrat, one thing that I've always shared that I envy of the Republican Party is that shark blood mentality, right? They if this is what they're going to do, they're going to attack it. They're going to go for it. It's going to be, hey, all or nothing. And if you ain't on board with it, then get off the ship, because that's what we're doing. We don't have that in the Democratic Party. I've always stated that I believe that we're just too weak. We're not strong. We don't have that fight and that shark seeing blood mentality when oftentimes it's presented to us. And I think that, we have to get some serious leadership in place. I think that maybe one of the things that we need to definitely look at is, man, we got to get some of the old folks up out of here. we got to get some of the old folks up out of here, bro.
Why is Nancy Pelosi?
Why is she still around?
Why is she still here?
Hey, we ain't forgot about you, Chuck Schumer, either. No. Hey, you need to get up out of here, too. But I think that we need to really start maybe looking at possibly younger, more stronger leadership that will kind of guide us towards a direction of where we want the party to be, because the current infrastructure of the Democratic Party ain't gonna hit. And I think depending on how the next 4 years goes with Trump, I think 2028 is going to be a very pivotal year. Once he's said and done, and once things start to settle in, where do we see? Is it a moment that Democrats can say, hey, you got 4 more years of this, and look how it affected, the country, be it negatively. Now we run and do those issues and show you this is why we truly need change, new next generation leadership, and we have that established and in place? Or is it that the Republican Party knocks us out of the park, and now we really, as a Democratic Party, are in a pickle? So I think there has to be some changes in our leadership and structure and just overall identity of what and who we are as a party.
The one point that I'll hit on that, because I think you hit it all. There's some people that need to go. And going back to the age thing, Nancy, 84, you got to go. Steinhoyer, 85, you got to go. Auntie Maxine, we love you.
I was about to say, you gotta, baby, you gotta go.
You 86, you gotta go. Bill Pasquale, 87.
Gotta go.
Grace Not Pilato. I'm definitely not saying that last name. 87, gotta go.
Gotta go.
Republican side, Chuck Grassley, 91. Oh, you gotta go.
Oh,
you gotta go. Hal Rogers, 86. Gotta go.
You gotta go.
Oh, Cocaine Mitch, 82. Gotta go. John Carter, 83. That exits on the way. Exits on the left. And Kay Granger, 81. You gotta go too.
You gotta go.
Y'all at 80.
You gotta go.
Y'all remember the Second World War. Y'all gotta go.
Bruh.
Y'all gotta go.
When you broadcast was in black and white when you took your oath. Why are you still
Why are you here?
You don't even know what social media is.
Don't you got grandkids you need to be playing with? Like, what? Why are you here? Go home. Go home, Roger. Go home.
Bruh. At some point, and this is a discussion for another day, but there need to be some type of limits,
man. So, and that's the other thing that this again, why I don't know what we're about to see in this next Trump presidency, because one of the things he was talking about is term limits, and that's what everyone's been asking for. There's no reason that you should be in Congress for 20 plus years. It don't make no sense. Get out. Go home. Go home and be a family person. Go home,
bruh. Your views when you came in do not match the current layout of the country, and that is my problem.
Congress, the decisions that are made in Congress affect people instantly, but largely is not felt until 15, 20 years down the road. Bruh. Nancy, you ain't about to be around to see most of this stuff come and impact you. Go home.
Go home. Bruh,
Chuck, you too. Go home.
You talking about I'm here to do the will of my people, and you 85.
Your people are gone. Most of your people gone. Well, who people?
Who you talking to? Who are you talking to?
You about to shoot a thriller music video? Have them come pop back? No, go home.
If you talk about I'm representing my people, and the people that you represent are the spirits of the people that have already gone on before you, you need to leave.
Have already transitioned to the realm of the ancestors, but that's a problem. Like we saw it going back to the founding. You know, George Washington was like, "I'm not going to do a third term." Because we need to be able to hand this off and then to keep going. Everyone wants this big celebration when they die. Look, no, you're hurting us by sticking around, and that's at all levels of government.
Go
and I think home.
I forgot what speech it was, and when George addressed that, and I believe Abraham Lincoln said some of that as well too. That it's not beneficial for a country for somebody in our modern terms to be a career politician of this magnitude.
Right.
The country changes way too much for you to stick around. You know, and then it becomes a point of whose bidding are you doing? Is it the people or is it yours? Because that's not what you're here to do. And I think we see a lot of that in Washington. But again, like you said, that's something that Trump has talked about doing. So then is that a check mark? And, you know, if that happens, is that a check mark in the good legacy, bad legacy, you know, in the good legacy department? We'll see, you know, but I think that there has to be something that needs to be done with the Democratic Party. We'll see. I think that all of them need to sit back and look at themselves in the mirror and get real and say, look, we got to get out of this pickle, because if we don't, you know, we won't have a chance.
They got 2 years to start to figure this out. They got to midterms, and that's not a lot of time.
That's not a lot of time at all.
Yeah,
so we're gonna see what happens.
We're gonna see. We're going to see. And we'll also see if the Republicans start resting on their laurels.
Man, because look.
You done got yourself a big victory. Or y'all gonna coast? This 2028 will be an open seat for the presidency.
Yes, sir. That's
y'all got 4 years to figure it out. What y'all going to do?
Lord willing, and the creek gonna rise. The boys here part in the politics we're gonna be primed and ready to give y'all what you need for that 2028 election. Because I'm telling you, that open seat, it's gonna be like I hope it's like Game of Thrones, bro.
Dun, 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 dun.
But we started seeing these houses rise.
Look, and y'all go ahead and start the ground movement for me and Jeezy to host a debate.
Yes.
Because we know that's what y'all really want. Y'all want us to host a debate, and we want to host it for y'all. Look,
because it don't matter how big the pod is. One thing you can assure yourselves that the boys will never lose sight of who we are as just being the genuine people that give you the content that you listen to on a week-to-week basis. So we can't be bought. Mm-hmm. We might take a donation, but we can't be bought.
We can't be bought.
So if that is the case, we're gonna ask the questions and we gonna keep it real with them. So I think that we'll see how these things play out, man. So Democrats are the pickle of the week. So outside of that, we are at the conclusion of our show. But first, we must give you what our spotlight of the week will be. So, Manny, what's your spotlight?
Man, I think it's where all eyes will be nationally for the next several weeks. What happens with this transition? Yeah. I think Donald is going to meet with President Biden in the Oval Office, I believe, either Wednesday or Thursday. So that's going to be a very interesting meeting, putting those rivals back against each other. That, and then also as we start hearing names of who he's going to put in the cabinet. And I know people are starting to get real concerned about that. Remember, everybody still has to get approved by Congress to step in those positions. Yes. And I can almost say, look, I don't want to predict anything because the one prediction that I had that was completely right is that Mark Robinson took this L. And we were the first. And you heard it here first. We said it first. But I think there's almost a 0% chance that RFK gets any type of official secretary position.
I'm joining you in that prediction. When I was reading some stuff and looking, and I was like, I don't think that he's gonna get it. And I think that Trump might have been smart to just kind of throw him that bone, thinking that, Donald was
do the thing.
He's gonna make a favor for me. But it's like, nah, this ain't a favor that I don't think he necessarily can pull for you, RFK. And I'm gonna say rightfully so.
I don't think he had I don't think he has any true intentions about giving him any type of real functional position. No, you got sucked in because you were going to be problematic for him going down, and he's like, "How do I shut up this problem? Hey, come work with me." Yeah.
And you bit the bullet.
Look, during the presidency, my belief is that when RFK pulls up to the White House, Donnie is going to, that picture of Ben Affleck standing outside going, that's how he's going to look when his chief of staff comes in and says, yes, Robert Kennedy is waiting for you. He's going like,
Bobby.
It's
Bobby again.
What is he? How did he get past Secret Service? I thought I just fixed this.
Hey man, I don't think I can agree with you. I don't think that he's going to get in, but
We'll see. But there's a lot of jockeying for positions that we've already seen, and we'll see how it kind of pans out and names that are coming out. But again, these people will still need some level of Democratic support before they get placed in these positions. Republicans ain't run the Senate up to 60. Yeah. So they still got to get through that, and we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, man. I think as the weeks go on, we'll see how the cabinet and those appointed people will take shape and the world's response to Trump's reelection, man. We've already talked about it. We've seen some of it with Zelensky was the first one to call.
Had to be. Right, he down bad.
He had that. He had that number on speed dial. He was like, bro, whichever
fumbling
one,
for that phone, like
call quick, sir. The interpreter won't be here till noon. Don't care.
We'll figure it out.
I know enough English to
Google Translate. Google Translate, help me out.
I seen a post, man, that Don Jr. said that he was like, hey man, you better do what you got to do now because that allowance about to run out. And Zelensky already like, look, I'm in a pickle.
Look, and we won't talk about it today. We'll save that for next week. But allegedly, there is a plan that the Trump administration has been putting together to potentially end the war. So we'll touch on that next week.
Oh, so y'all get a little treat for next week, man. So yeah, how the world will respond to this re-election, man. With it, we have the issue with the war that's going on with Israel and Hamas and Iran, and how all that will go down in response to this. So those are our spotlights, man. And again, I want to say thank you for tuning in, not just for this episode, but again, the live stream. For all the episodes that we now have the podcast on YouTube. So if YouTube is your platform of choice, you can hear our episodes over there. We have those dropping in. And again, we're on any streaming podcast platform that you do enjoy, be it Prime, Spotify, Apple, whatever. We have you covered. So with that being said, this is episode 9 of Pardon the Politics podcast. Manny, you got anything for the people?
Nothing. We love y'all. We will see y'all next week.
All right, y'all. All hearts and minds clear. We'll see y'all next week. Take care. Peace.